All right, Trevor Bates,
Good.
thanks for joining me today, and congratulations on the January Associate Spotlight First of 2023. I am so honored to be able to have this time with you. Can you
Thank you.
tell me a little bit about yourself and what
Sure.
you do for Adafio?
Yes. So I'm an Aquarius. So January is, where I shine, where my sun lives, first and foremost.
Mine too.
Um, yeah, I've been with Adafio for 10 years and started on the help desk. Hospital on their help desk and helping out with projects and eventually leading their infrastructure and application team. And then in January 2020, I came back from being full time at the heart hospital and started leading the core care team. Well, started leading a team of engineers.
Okay.
It was the field team at that time, systems engineers. And then this year, with the reorganization, leading a team of tier three systems and network engineers. And I still keep a little bit of a toe in the client in the waters of client
Yes, you do.
interaction. I can't help it. I love our clients and I do like helping to do some account management and some virtual CIO
Mhm.
things. That's my role.
Yeah, you're a jack of all trades and you're good at dealing with clients. So I can see why, that would not be something they would want to remove from your responsibilities in your role.
Yeah, I have. I don't think I'll ever be out of that
Mm-mm.
realm. It's good for me to stay there a little bit. Yeah,
Tell me what tier three means when you talk about tier three systems, just a little bit more, if you could
sure.
elaborate.
So tier three is our most senior engineers,
Okay.
systems and network. Tier three, before a ticket gets to a tier three engineer, it's gone through two other levels of escalation, right? We want all of our clients interacting with our help desk first, which internally we're trying to call tier one, and that's where most of the things are going to be resolved. They have the documentation and the familiarity with our clients to resolve most issues.
Hmm.
If they're unable to resolve it, then it'll go up to the tier two team, may dive a little bit deeper, and they may need to scramble a resource on site. Sometimes that happens. But ultimately, if they're not able to resolve an issue, it'll go to the tier three team. Tier three, in addition to escalations, also leads projects. So they do a lot of project work. We have a, a projects team, but that workload is shared, and a lot of it happens on the core care team, which is we, if a client has a core care agreement with us, then
Hmm.
they have a primary engineer named on their account, and those engineers are on my team.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah. That does explain quite a bit because prior to that, maybe it went from there was no ticketing where it just was the first person to get the ticket and they could be of any expertise, where maybe now it could be a little bit more streamlined, try to resolve the
that's
easier
right.
problems and
Yep.
troubleshoot before they.
And historically at Adafio, the primary engineer role has worn the most hats.
Yeah.
That those people have been network, systems, cybersecurity, cloud, relationship, CIO, all of it. And over the years, we've started to peel that back, and now, right, where we have a dedicated cloud team, a dedicated network team, cybersecurity, the primary engineer has been all of those things, and sometimes the clients, they have the relationship. The clients
uh,
see the primary engineer as their trusted advisor, right? And so
yeah.
That
Kind of like a
is
therapist, you know, it's
mhm,
like they don't really feel comfortable giving that information to just anybody. And this person knows their system, like a doctor knows your system. I mean, they
that's
just
right.
know.
That's right. And
Mhm.
but and you know, it becomes more and more important as our company grows that more and more of those interactions, most of those interactions, right, are happening at other tiers. I mentioned that most things are resolved at tier one level. That's
Yeah.
where most of the requests are coming from. And you don't send everything to your doctor, right? You're going to
Nope.
interact with the nurses. You're going to interact with the PAs and all of the other people. But it's very important for our clients to remain connected with that primary engineer because they are the most familiar with the environment, and they will be. Those are when there's a business need that needs to be solved with technology, it starts with the primary engineer.
Have you ever been in that role? I mean, did you enjoy that position? I mean,
You
we all have our
know,
strengths.
no, I should not represent myself as a primary engineer. I have the help desk background, and so have enjoyed working with the systems and network engineers my entire career at Adafio. But and I still like to get my hands dirty a little bit sometimes. I'll roll up my sleeves and I like to go on site still, right? Whenever there's a go live, I want to be there and interact with the client, but also, help and
Support your
see what's,
team.
yeah, and support the team and be there. And don't ask Chuck Sanford or Joseph Dunn about any of the things that I've helped them with at Travel Nurse. I won't admit to it. But it's good for me to still be aware of, yeah, what's going on and help support them in any way I can. But I've never been in that role, and so the help desk background is as far as I go technically, just enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll lead on to some of the other questions. I
yeah.
noticed that there were some that you didn't answer, so I'll steer away
Hmm.
from those. The next one is, what is it that you are currently binge watching or reading? And
Oh yeah, I got so for Christmas. I'm a big sci-fi fan.
okay.
Science fiction. Fiction is what I want to read. Right when I sit down, I want to go into a fantasy
A
world.
different, yes.
Yeah. So for Christmas, I got this trilogy, which starts with a book called Ancillary Justice, and I'm just getting started on it. It's about artificial intelligence system on a spaceship that gets trapped in a human body and
Oh,
is out for revenge. So it's a really cool story, and I think it's like the first book that's won all three of the biggest science fiction awards that are out there. So yeah, I'm a huge science fiction fan. Dune is my favorite book. I was this close to putting a Dune quote on the motto question.
well, what is it? Do you
You
know
know
what
the
the quote?
the litany against fear. Fear is the mind killer.
Uh-huh. Ooh.
There's a whole litany. I will face my fear, and I will allow it to pass through me. It's like something that one of the characters recites, and so I think about I think about that a lot, and it's such a cool book that's so um, has a lot of politics in it, and anyway, that's my favorite book of all time. The
They're
movie's
coming out with a movie this
the
year.
movie's okay. Yeah, the movie's okay.
But I
The
thought I saw that, are they coming out with a new one in 2023, or
Yeah,
did
it's
it?
it's part two, or it's
Oh, okay.
the movie that came out recently is like halfway through the book, and
Oh,
so
so this is the
so they'll
second.
come out with the other half of it, and it's good, but
Nothing really compares to the
there's
book,
no comparison to
right?
the books. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm more into the spiritual self-help books, but I'm reading
yeah.
one now through Philip Stutz, who was just recently on a and on a Netflix, Jonah Hill did
Uh-huh.
a documentary on his therapist, and
Huh.
it's Philip Stutz, so you should watch it. It's only like an hour and a half.
Okay.
And because I enjoyed it so much, I decided to get the book that he wrote. He's written two, and one is Tools. And it talks about fear and it talks about getting right up into it and not
Yep.
letting it get you down, because if you can overcome that, it just changes everything in your life. So just not, because otherwise it's almost like it's dragging you down like a ball and chain, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah.
it's it's pretty captivating that it's just applied in a different way. You're reading
Uh-huh.
it from a Dune philosophy or perspective.
Yep.
I'm reading it from my own, but yet it's
Yes,
all
that's so
still the
interesting.
same.
And the
Yeah.
cool thing about Dune too is there are a ton of spiritual themes in it, and like I mean, as an Episcopal, like
Hmm.
doing litanies and kind of saying things corporately. There's just a lot of like power in
Yeah.
those things, and kind of reciting prayer and uh
Ritualistic, and it
yeah,
creates a sort of
yeah, I'm very interested in
honor
that
and
type of stuff.
mhm. Those customs can be really important.
Hmm.
Traditions and such, they really do carry a lot of weight, sort of railing out these like neural pathways in us to
Absolutely,
feel
yeah. that's
connected to it.
that's the I when I do dabble in nonfiction, those are that stuff's really interesting to me, so I'll have to check out the
Yeah, I'll
um
send you the
the one
link
you sent me.
to,
Yeah.
and he doesn't really get into the whole fear part in the well, he might a little bit in the documentary, but he does talk about there's three certainties and in life, and one of them is, of course now I'm going to forget, one of them is pain, one
Hmm.
of them is uncertainty, and the third is constant work. We have to constantly work
Hmm.
at just life, and understanding that pain and uncertainty are going to be a part of it, but that's
Interesting.
actually what builds us, makes us stronger, makes us more creative. It makes us like crack
Hmm.
open those new spaces that we wouldn't otherwise. We'd get somewhat content if we never knew pain.
Hmm.
We would kind of flatline.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
important. I mean, for me to work against the fear and anxiety of being uncomfortable or in new situations, like I really try to um, to work on putting myself out there, right? And so yeah, that's all really cool. You'll have to send me that.
I will. So, what's one thing on your bucket list, Trevor?
Oh yeah. So over the pandemic, I learned how to play a new instrument. I learned it's called a pedal steel guitar.
Sounds
And
very hard.
yep, it's kind of like, like you've seen the people play an organ in church, like they're using
Yeah,
their feet and both hands, and they're all
like
over the
rubbing your
place.
belly and tapping your head.
Yeah. So on a pedal steel guitar, I mean, there's pedals, that
Hmm.
you're pressing on with your feet, and then there's they're called knee levers, and you're using those, to like if you're sitting at the guitar, it's laying flat like this, and you sit at it. So you're pressing pedals with your feet, and then you move these levers with your knees, and then you're kind of playing the guitar on top. So anyway, you hear it most in country music.
Yeah. Can you name
It's
a particular artist? Because I feel like I have heard it before.
oh gosh, it's
Is there a
everywhere.
lot of them? Okay.
It's all over country music. I mean, um, y- um, like Merle Haggard, Willie Nelson, a lot of the classic guys,
Yeah.
but even today, I mean, everybody. It's just a sweet kind of slide guitar sound, and so I started learning how to play that in during the pandemic, and have recorded some songs with it. I think my bucket list would be though I want to figure out how to use that instrument in new ways. So in um, in the 80s and 90s, there were some artists who started to use that instrument who were really big in country music. Like some of the biggest pedal steel players, Buddy Emmons and Lloyd Dale Green, started using it for jazz music.
Ooh.
Yeah, which was really cool. And so, I think that I want to use that instrument and explore some new territories with it. I
Yeah.
think like some experimental, guitar music is something that I would want to do and put on my bucket list in some ways to try and discover some new sounds using that kind
Yes.
of instrument uh, that's kind of rooted in the past. The other thing on my bucket list would be someday I want to charter a sailboat and pleasure cruise around Europe or somewhere like the Mediterranean or something. I've always wanted to. I've I've sailed for a little while, kind of on some lakes in Arkansas, but one of my bucket list things would be to charter a boat and do like the Bahamas or something. Do like a month where you're
Yeah.
just kind of cruising around. Those are the two things I could think of.
Which leads me to the question about what's something unique,
Oh
a
yeah.
fun fact, which I think both tie in with music and sailboats. So if you could
Uh-huh.
elaborate more on those two special qualities that you have.
Yeah, on my what people may not know much about. So I'll start with sailing. When I lived in Fayetteville, I got involved with the Lake Maumelle Sailing Club and had some friends that invited me to crew on a keelboat. So it's a boat that's usually between 20 or 30 feet
Hmm.
long. And every Sunday there would be a race that the sailing club would have. And so I started learning how to crew on a boat. And the position that I ended up learning and getting put in was the bowman, which is at the very front of the boat. And my job would be, when you're sailing, you're either going upwind or downwind. And when you're going upwind, um, you kind of sail in zigzags.
Hmm.
And then, eventually in a race, when you turn around and go the other way and you're going downwind, you'll see, I'm sure if you've seen a picture, it's a really iconic sailboat kind of picture or pose. When you're going downwind, you'll raise a new sail called the spinnaker, and it's a big ballooning sail that
Yeah.
comes in the front, and you only raise it when you're going downwind because it's really big and it fills with air and it pushes you. So my job on the bow would be to raise that sail and attach what's called a spinnaker pole, and you still do zigzags. Anyway, I when I moved down to Little Rock and took this job at Adafio, I put my name in, just signed up at the Grand Maumelle Sailing Club, and they called me and said, "Hey, we got a spot for you." And so I did that for many years. I've kind of taken a break because it's every Sunday, and so it's been a little bit since I've done it, but every once in a while I'll still go out there and help out. And so yeah, we won. So every spring there's a big regatta, and my crew won in it's been a few years now. I think 2017 we won the spring regatta. So anyway, that's something that's really fun that most people don't know about me. And also, I really, as I mentioned before, I really enjoy music. During the pandemic, I started recording just my own music,
Uh-huh.
and playing all of the instruments and singing. And it was a it was a coping mechanism during the pandemic. And so I started recording and releasing my own music. And over the past couple of years, have released about albums of music, varying from rock and roll to some a little bit of punk music, all the way to country and western. With my pedal steel guitar, so I can't really decide on a single genre. But um, yeah, playing at the Whitewater Tavern next Thursday, January
Are you
19th.
really?
So we're playing
Where's
out, and we're
okay.
recording music, and
I love it.
those are two things that have kept me sane over the
Yeah.
years.
Well, and that allow you like just because what we need to stop telling ourselves is that our passion doesn't mean to be our full-time job. So as long
Hmm.
as you have something that you can continue to that you not that you don't want to enjoy doing your job, but you want to be
Yeah,
able to
yeah,
have other outlets to explore, to build creativity,
yeah,
to
yeah. I mean, and exercising, the creative part of my brain, I think, allows me to be better at my job, right? I can come
at
in
mhm,
and think about, creative ways to solve problems. And I apply logic, in my music as well, so they cross over constantly for me, and I need them both, right?
yeah. I do, and for those that don't necessarily believe in horoscopes, well, I don't know who they are, but I do think that there's some truth to it, especially when you said you were an Aquarius, because
I
they're
had to, yeah,
they're just
yeah,
such a myriad and eccentric group of people. You just don't know what you're gonna come up with their with
yeah.
their desires and interests.
Yeah, here at the beginning of the year, I was just reading about that recently, and right as we started this call, I just thought, when you said it's a January spotlight, I said, how appropriate is that?
How appropriate. When is your birthday, by the way?
The 30th.
The 30th.
Yep.
Mine's the 23rd. There's a lot of January birthdays in at Adafio, if
Yes.
I remember.
Yes.
Because
Yeah,
Kendall
there are.
Harris, I remember reading like when we used to do the cell like happy birthday. It was like, oh my goodness,
It's
that's a
cool.
that's a good number of January birthdays.
Hmm.
Well, because I mean, technology isn't all about using your left brain either. I mean, I think there's a lot of creativeness, and maybe we represent it.
Yeah, yeah. I think,
So
the ability to, bring solutions that uh, specifically, meet our clients' business needs are going to be, they're not always the same. It's not cookie cutter. We need to be able to think
no,
strategically and creatively. I also need the people who are, um,
yeah,
you know, super process, driven, and black and white, and we all, work together, and that's what's made us successful
yeah.
over all the years, is it takes all
Yeah, we're
kinds.
humanitarians at the highest level. We're humanitarians wanting to
That's
do
right.
best for humanity, and
Yep.
sometimes technology plays a big part. And how do we do better for us to live and
100%.
survive?
Yep.
Well, let me
Well
end with
said.
one more question, and then we'll call it. Everybody at Adafio has a story for what brought them here and why they joined the team, and I would love to hear yours
Oh yeah.
since you've been here for 10 years now.
Yep.
So,
So when I interviewed for that help desk job, I went and had coffee with Keith Woodruff. Was the first person I talked to, and at that time, again, help desk background, I saw Adafio as a growing technology company where I could grow my skill sets professionally. And then, I saw a company that just had a ton of potential, for growth, and so I wanted to be a part of that. Part of the way I saw that in that very first conversation with Keith Woodruff, I'll always remember he asked me, he said, I want to ask you a question. There's no right or wrong answer. I just want to hear how you think about how many gas stations are there in the United States. And I was like, oh no. um, and so I started talking about, well, I guess there's probably this many gas stations in Fayetteville where I lived at the time, and that means Northwest Arkansas, and starting to put together some logic on scaling up, right, based on a small little piece of data that I might know. And I ended up answering something that was so far off. After the interview, I looked it up and I was like, oh man, I probably I could have reasoned that a little bit better, but it was good enough to get the job. And I remember thinking, this is like a Google question. Like this is like big brain, that kind of question. So I'm in.
You didn't ask me that. I feel a little bit cheated.
Oh yeah,
I'm kind of glad he did too.
I have asked several people who talked to Keith, and I don't know what he was feeling that day, what that he wanted to. Maybe he just read about those Google questions or something. But yeah, I'd love to know if anyone else got the how many gas stations are there in the United States,
Yeah.
because I have used that in some
I
interviews
don't
that I've
know.
done.
Have you? Have you used
Oh
it?
yeah,
Because I
I
mean, it certainly is
absolutely
an
have.
icebreaker. It's an icebreaker. It's not your traditional question, and so it
Yeah,
kind of
just have
makes
a little
you think a
fun and
little
hear
differently.
hear the
He's
person
so
think
funny.
think about something that they're not going to get right, you know. So anyway, that's my story about starting at Adafio.
And how many people worked at Adafio when you 10 years ago? Do you remember
Oh,
like what
how
number
many
you?
then? It was in the
Yeah.
20s. It was like 25, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I think it was 25 folks. And so yeah, it's been an incredible journey. I'm still here because I still believe in the potential of the company,
Mhm.
and the amount of growth that we have now is just I think a tipping point to really scaling and taking the next
Yeah.
steps. And the foundation that we've made here is going to be a springboard. So
Well, and it's
that's
people
what
like
keeps me
you
here.
too, that you can bring as I don't remember the author, maybe it was Too Good to Great, which I've heard a lot of those companies are no longer in business, so let's not talk
Yep.
about that. But it's
Yep.
about preserving your core and then stimulating progress. And so
Mhm.
knowing like we're still fundamentally that humble beginning company of really trying to do what's right for the client in every way we can. But yet we also know that in order to grow, we have to expand and change, and things don't always mean that we're going to do it the same way.
Yep.
We have to stay open.
Yep.
So,
And that's good.
yeah. Well,
It's
I really
essential.
appreciate your time, fellow Aquarian,
Okay.
and
Yes. Thank
I
you,
can't wait
Melissa.
to see you in person. And also, maybe one day, you can play some music, a company event. I don't want to take you away from the actual fun, but you might actually have fun playing
We
for a
do
company
have,
event.
it's crazy how many musicians we have in the company
Oh
that I
yeah,
know of. I bet so. Maybe some sort of company
even
band
a even a
is in the
pop-up
works.
band. Maybe
Yeah.
like a pop-up happy hour, and
That'd
we just show up at, I don't know, some place in Little Rock, and we get to hear you guys. I
be
mean, I
fun.
don't know if you need some preparation or planning, or if it's just a sort of improv, you
Just a
just get
jam
up there and
session.
jam. I think that would be so fun.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we'll talk about that. I got some
okay.
ideas about that. And yeah, thank you, Melissa. This was
Yeah.
really fun, and we'll hang out soon.
Okay. Well,
You
take
know it.
care until then. All
All
right.
right. See
Bye.
ya.